The bench was 23 for New York and 7 for you guys, and obviously you had some different people in different places with Caitlin out, but is New York that much tougher when they're getting 23 points off the bench? And I think they were, I guess, 9 for 13 from the field. So.
Yeah, I mean, certainly it is. It's tough when you're getting that kind of production, when you have that kind of depth. But the thing that stood out to me was the last 3 minutes of the third and the first 2 to 3 minutes of the fourth, where they went on like a 16 or 18 to 3 run. You can't allow that to happen.
Recent developments surrounding the WNBA All-Star Game have exposed significant vulnerabilities in the league's economic foundation and fan engagement strategies. The absence of Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark due to injury created unprecedented market disruption, revealing the extent of one player's influence on league popularity and financial performance. Indianapolis had invested heavily in what organizers anticipated would become the most successful WNBA weekend in history. The city erected a massive 34-story banner featuring Clark on the JW Marriott Hotel, representing the largest advertisement display ever mounted on the building. This promotional effort exceeded even the 2021 NCAA tournament bracket display, spanning 113,000 square feet and dominating the downtown skyline.
To happen against championship caliber teams, and different than their early run. It was poor shot selection, turnovers.
Now let me stop it right here. Stephanie, you're the coach. You're the reason that they're having these turnovers. You should have drew some up and prevented the damn 20-point disaster off the turnovers, bro. You're failing to take responsibility for what just happened.
That they got some easy buckets and got runouts for, ways that we weren't able to set our defense.
Municipal preparations included installing replica all-star basketball courts at the airport, while local businesses expanded inventory and hired additional staff to accommodate expected crowds. Gainbridge Fieldhouse achieved rapid sellout status when tickets initially became available, demonstrating unprecedented demand for WNBA content. Initial pricing reflected this extraordinary interest, with entry-level tickets reaching $121 as an average resale prices hitting $262. Premium seating commanded thousands of dollars, establishing new benchmarks for WNBA All-Star Game ticket values according to market analysis from TickPick.
They got some easy buckets and got runouts for, ways that we weren't able to set our defense. I thought early in the ball game we were getting high-quality shots that weren't going in. We knew when they were coming, and so we could set our defense. And that run really stood out to me. I was looking at the turnovers. 20 points off of turnovers. You can't give that to great teams, and 20 points from the free throw line. I mean, that's 40 points right there.
She felt like
in games, or how is that something you fix?
I don't know if it's not knowing as much as having awareness when you're on there. In transition, you get.
The announcement of Clark's groin injury on July 17th triggered immediate and dramatic market corrections. Ticket prices experienced catastrophic decline within hours of the injury news breaking across social media platforms. Average ticket values crashed from $20.62 to $64, representing a 75% depreciation in real-time market conditions. This wasn't gradual market adjustment over several days. The financial collapse occurred rapidly as sellers attempted to minimize losses on speculative ticket purchases. Entry-level pricing dropped from $121 to approximately $65, yet even these reduced rates failed to generate significant buyer interest.
Awareness when you're on there. In transition, you get matched up, cross-matched oftentimes. If you quiz them on the scouting report, they know it. But recognizing it in live action, understanding again, like what we're willing to live with, playing tendencies. Because at the end of the day, players make plays. And you have to make them make difficult plays. And that's, not letting players who like to drive left, right? Make them go right. Not allowing wide open catch and shoot threes to 3-point shooters, make.
The secondary market demonstrated complete confidence collapse, with ticket holders desperately attempting to recover any portion of their initial investments. Price reductions followed sequential patterns as sellers continuously lowered asking prices without finding adequate demand at any level. League officials observed these trends directly, gaining firsthand insight into Clark's monetary value within WNBA economics. The market response provided unambiguous evidence regarding fan motivation and purchasing decisions centered around individual player appearances. Historical precedent existed for Clark-related ticket volatility, though never at this magnitude. Previous regular season absences due to quad strain injuries in May, had created similar patterns on smaller scales. Washington game prices declined 47% during her absence, while Chicago contest values fell 71% when she couldn't participate. However, those instances involved regular season contests rather than marquee events. The All-Star Game represented Clark's hometown celebration, making the market crash unprecedented in scope and financial impact. Gainbridge Fieldhouse faced its first non-sellout situation of the entire season, a remarkable development considering the venue had maintained capacity crowds for nearly 2 years during every Fever home game. The facility that had become synonymous with consistent attendance suddenly confronted empty seating sections during the city's biggest basketball weekend since hosting NBA All-Star festivities. Economic ripple effects extended throughout downtown Indianapolis as the reality of reduced attendance became apparent. Vendors who had invested thousands in All-Star weekend merchandise inventory faced substantial losses. Restaurants and hotels experienced reservation cancellations after expecting record business volumes. Arena-based businesses including concession stands and retail outlets projected significantly reduced patronage compared to scenarios featuring Clark's participation. Surrounding entertainment districts, dining establishments, and tourist attractions similarly anticipated decreased foot traffic without the star player's drawing power. The market collapse sent clear messages about fan priorities and attendance motivation. When other prominent players suffer injuries, ticket markets typically don't experience comparable devastation. This pattern suggested that without Clark's presence, many consumers considered the All-Star Game unworthy of attendance. The situation exposed uncomfortable truths about league dependency that organizational leadership preferred avoiding. The record-breaking season's attendance figures and revenue milestones suddenly appeared less impressive when viewed through the lens of single-player influence. Clark's injury didn't occur in isolation, but resulted from sustained physical play that officiating crews consistently failed to address. Opposing teams discovered they could employ aggressive tactics including grabbing, shoving, and excessive contact without facing appropriate penalties from referees. Statistical analysis revealed concerning patterns in Clark's treatment compared to league averages. She absorbed 20% of all flagrant fouls during her rookie season, with many incidents originating from specific opponents who appeared to target her deliberately. Video evidence suggested these weren't basketball-related plays but intentional attempts to disrupt her performance. Opposing players were observed celebrating successful physical contact against Clark, indicating coordinated strategies rather than incidental game situations. Such behavior would face serious consequences in most professional work environments. Indiana Fever coach Stephanie White had identified these officiating inconsistencies throughout the season, noting elevated physicality levels directed specifically toward Clark that other players didn't encounter. White's observations weren't hyperbolic but reflected documented patterns of differential treatment. Media analysis from outlets including the Washington Post characterized WNBA officiating as chronically inadequate, suggesting the league should consider changing its logo to represent bruising and adopt mottos acknowledging missed calls. These weren't isolated criticisms but systematic evaluations of referee performance. Specific examples included defenders hooking Clark's arms, pushing her off screens, and fouling her during drives without whistle response. Video documentation showed referees observing these incidents without taking action, creating environments where targeting Clark became legitimate competitive strategy. The officiating crisis extended beyond Clark to affect other Fever players including Sophie Cunningham and Aaliyah Boston, who also experienced elevated flagrant foul rates. This suggested systematic bias rather than coincidental officiating pattern. Inconsistent penalty application became particularly problematic when Fever opponents received favorable treatment for similar contact levels. Touch fouls were called against Indiana while identical or more severe infractions by opponents went unpenalized. Historical precedent in professional sports typically involves protecting star players who generate significant revenue and fan interest. Clark's treatment represented an aberration from standard practices designed to preserve league assets. WNBA injury statistics revealed 57 head and neck injuries over 2.5 seasons, with guards and small forwards experiencing disproportionate impact according to analytical reporting. These figures suggested systematic problems rather than normal competitive wear. WNBA legend Lisa Leslie, who experienced similar groin injuries in 2006, warned that such conditions can persist for months or years. Leslie's personal experience indicated that groin injuries create lingering effects that players must manage rather than fully resolve. The The injury's timing during mid-season eliminated rest opportunities that might facilitate proper healing. Leslie noted that even with medical intervention, groin injuries can resurface with single movements or direction changes, creating ongoing performance limitations. Leslie's admission that she still experiences effects from her 2006 injury while playing tennis demonstrated the long-term implications Clark now faces due to inadequate protection from officials. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert's response to the crisis proved inadequate for addressing fan concerns and market realities. When questioned about officiating problems during All-Star Weekend, Engelbert provided corporate language about productive meetings with stakeholders while avoiding substantive acknowledgement of systematic issues. Engelbert's emphasis on shared goals and constructive dialogue ignored the financial devastation occurring throughout Indianapolis. While ticket prices collapsed and businesses faced losses, league leadership maintained business as usual messaging that demonstrated disconnect from economic realities. Fan expectations involved direct acknowledgement of officiating failures and concrete protective measures for players like Clark. Instead, they received sanitized corporate communications about maintaining team profitability and ongoing conversations. Engelbert's tone-deaf responses intensified fan frustration rather than providing reassurance about league direction. Her failure to address officiating crises directly contributed to organized boycott efforts and reduced confidence in league management. The All-Star Game itself reflected these broader problems through poor basketball quality and reduced fan engagement. Without Clark's presence, the event became what observers described as a practice scrimmage lacking competitive intensity or entertainment value. Attendance issues became visible through empty seating sections at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. The energy that typically characterizes All-Star festivities was notably absent, creating awkward viewing experiences for television audiences and attending fans. Gimmicky rule modifications including 4-point shot opportunities made gameplay worse rather than better. Instead of competitive basketball, fans witnessed what critics called glorified layup lines, with players attempting shots from excessive distances without defensive pressure. The lack of competitive effort embarrassed many observers who expected professional athletes to demonstrate basketball skills during showcase events. The combination of poor defense and gimmicky rules created unwatchable entertainment that alienated fans seeking legitimate basketball competition. Meanwhile, recruitment efforts by New York Liberty representatives, including mascot appearances, generated more attention than actual gameplay. Liberty officials understood Clark's value proposition better than league leadership, treating her as a prized asset worthy of aggressive pursuit. The contrast between Liberty's recognition of Clark's importance and the league's failure to protect her highlighted organizational dysfunction at multiple levels. This All-Star Weekend represented the first major test of WNBA viability without Clark's participation, and results proved categorically negative. The stark difference between regular season games featuring Clark's excitement generation and this flat, poorly attended event demonstrated league dependency levels. Fan response through reduced ticket purchases, negative reviews, and organized boycotts sent unambiguous messages about entertainment expectations and league direction. The economic impact extended beyond single-game losses to raise questions about sustainable growth and audience retention. The crisis revealed fundamental disconnects between league management priorities and fan demands.